A review of sorts. Arcades and Love Songs, The Ballad of Walter Day by David Race. Spoilers. Cringy, awkward, uncomfortable, embarrassing. I asked my fiancée what she thought. The following represents her views. Quote, "It was like a cringy, awkward reality show that was completely drawn out. It went on and on. It could have been 30 minutes instead of an hour and a half. If making music is what makes Walter happy, then good for him. But the makers of the film appeared to have taken advantage of him." Close quote. In the process of telling Walter's story, the filmmakers felt the need to prop up Walter's longtime friend, business partner, and proven cheater, Billy Mitchell. Steve Sanders, a friend of Mitchell's and an admitted cheater, provided the bulk of the commentary in support of him. The introduction of the lawsuit involving Walter was nothing more than an excuse to trash Jace Hall and Twin Galaxies, before all but forgetting about it until the very end of the film, where it was revealed that Walter had been released from the countersuit. The filmmakers didn't seem to really have Walter's best interest at heart. It started out as a play for sympathy, essentially a pity party for Walter Day, that progressed into an uncomfortable exercise of projection and the guilt-tripping of an ex-girlfriend. It appeared that Shane Harris agreed to be a part of the film only after Walter contacted her out of the blue nearly 40 years since their breakup. It was an extremely uneasy watch. I thought the treatment of Walter and his desire to bring his songs to life was anything but charming. It was sad. There's nothing wrong with encouraging someone in the attainment of a goal or the overcoming of obstacles, but it doesn't help when your supposed friends lie to you and give you false hope once they get in front of a camera, especially after sitting back and doing nothing to help for close to 2 decades. A more realistic focus could have been on Walter's talent as a songwriter and attempts to farm out his material to executives and artists, but instead they zeroed in on the highly improbable and unrealistic. It concluded with an embarrassing and drawn-out performance in Fairfield, Iowa, including an encore of the song he had just finished moments prior. I applaud Walter for overcoming his fear of singing in public, just as I applaud the courage of anyone to get behind a microphone and sing karaoke for the first time. They might suck, but they deserve kudos for going through with it. I'm sorry, but despite what Walter might think, and what others to believe, he is not a singer, and all the autotune and pitch correction in the world won't change that. With respect to production and editing, it could have been better. There were a few scenes where blurred and shaky footage was more irritating than artistic. It appears an AI-generated photo of Billy Mitchell and his son, standing together on a sports field, was used in the film. If true, what does that say about the integrity of the production team? There was also a very noticeable error in the end crawl and a grammatical mistake which proofreaders should have caught. Aside from that, there were a number of people included in the credits under the featuring section who never made a visual appearance in the film. 3 such names are Jim Carrey, Oprah Winfrey, and Mark Hamill. Hamill is simply mentioned by music producer Andrew Swanson. He also name drops Justin Bieber, Madonna, Diplo, and Sia, who also are given credits in the film. One of the store owners mentioned how he had met Jim Carrey and that Oprah had been there. He said that Fairfield was a place where, quote, big names come to hang low, to hide, close quote. But the more likely reason why Jim Carrey and Oprah came to Fairfield had to do with the fact they both have connections to Maharishi International University, which is headquartered there, and are dedicated practitioners of Transcendental Meditation, TM, just like Walter Day, who wears a Maharishi University of Management sweatshirt at various times during the film. If this is all it takes to get big names in the credits of your film, then my next project is going to be one star-studded extravaganza. On the other hand, it appears where one would expect credit, there wasn't. The example I'm thinking of is the website which has documented the evidence against Billy Mitchell and reported on his various lawsuits over the years. 2 pages appear briefly on screen, one seemingly part of a separate video clip, while the other appears as a standalone. Since other online news and reporting agencies were credited, such as Variety and Ars Technica, there's absolutely no reason why, at the very least, credit shouldn't have been given to PerfectPacman.com. A separate .com URL was given credit, so there shouldn't have been an objection to crediting this source. There were also at least a couple examples where credits were duplicated twice in the same section. Mistakes like these should not happen in a production such as this. It was like no one took their job seriously, much like the horrific Photoshop work which appeared in The Fiddling Horse, which also happened to feature Walter's conman friend. The very last thing tagged on at the end of the credits was the following statement, quote, Billy Mitchell and Twin Galaxies have settled their lawsuit, and Twin Galaxies and Guinness World Records have reinstated Mitchell's high scores. Close quote. It appears the filmmakers are banking on the ignorance of their audience. They're giving the false impression that Mitchell's scores were reinstated by Twin Galaxies, TG, in the same way that Guinness reinstated his scores, when that's simply not the case. Guinness fully reinstated and validated Mitchell's scores, including the disputed ones. Evidence uncovered during discovery showed that this was done to avoid going to court, while both TG and Mitchell settled their respective lawsuits against each other after years of expensive litigation. TG only agreed to reinstate Mitchell's scores to the original TG historical database, something which existed at the time of Jace Hall's purchase of TG. This database also contains scores of other proven cheaters. Neither Mitchell nor these other cheaters have had their scores reinstated to TG's active competitive leaderboard, nor will they. Mitchell is still banned from TG competition, and TG's opinion regarding his Donkey Kong scores hasn't changed. They were scores not achieved on original unmodified arcade hardware. In other words, Mitchell produced cheated tapes, one of which featured prominently in The King of Kong, and also briefly appeared in this film, alongside the cheated 1,050,200 score. None of TG's statements regarding Mitchell were found to be defamatory. In the end, sadly, Walter won't be the one who benefits the most from this endeavor. Ed Cunningham should be ashamed of himself.